Hello everyone, this video is an introduction to Module 2. So Module 2 is our first module where we are going to get into the actual readings for the class and get a good overview of literature. So the whole module is about an overview of literature. It will take you just a little bit longer to complete these assignments, so that's why I'm making sure that it gets opened up right away for you. If you are having trouble with textbooks, because I've had a lot of emails and conversations so far about textbooks, send me an email right away if you're having difficulty with these assignments because you don't have the book yet. Make sure that you are communicating that with me. I can open up the assignments a little bit longer as a result, just because we're dealing with some confusion related to textbooks. So you can see that there's not as much going on in this module, but the readings themselves will take you a little while. I've had some students communicate with me in their welcome email that they are worried about the amount of reading in this class, and because obviously it is a literature class, there is quite a bit of reading, but I would highly recommend just taking it in chapters, quite literally in this case because there are multiple chapters, but take it in small steps. So the chapter information is not very long. It'll be just a couple of pages, and that's vocabulary essentially. So it's just information about the topic. In this case, if you're in the chapter on reading a story, it's going to cover just kind of basic vocabulary that we need to discuss a story, plot, characters, that kind of thing. Each of those kind of main discussion points is going to also be a chapter later on. So we'll have a whole chapter on characters, for example, which will go over the different kinds of characters. You're going to be introduced to the concepts in chapter 1, but there will be a chapter later on when we get into it further. So those chapters that are like the nonfiction sort of overview, general information kind of stuff, is usually pretty short, so a couple of pages, and then after that point you'll get just a bunch of examples. So in this case, chapter 1, reading a short story, you're also going to read these short stories here, I believe up to John Updike's A and P is kind of the last story that you'll read. So all of these will be within that chapter, and I want you to read all of them. Some of them are really short, so like The Tortoise and the Geese and The North Wind and the Sun, those are all fables or legends, or in the case of the Grimm brothers, Godfather Death, that's a fairy tale. And so most of them are fairly short, and so they shouldn't be too hard to get through. But again, kind of pace yourself is what I would do. If you start at the beginning of the week, then you can read just a little bit at a time and kind of keep track of them. I would, if it were me, I would be taking notes over the readings and just like writing, the title down, and then just maybe a sentence or two about it so that I can remember it, because I am not very good with details, names of characters and things like that. And so it helps me when I just have something that I can refer back to really easily. And so that's what I would recommend doing. So once you've gone through all of this, and this will be quite a few things to look at because you're looking at all three genres, then you can actually get into the assignments for the unit. I also have a resources page. I love this video. Crash Course is a great resource for students. This one is just about how and why we read, and I just think it's pretty fascinating, especially when we're talking about literature and we want to understand why literature is so important and why we want to study it. And then I also have a couple of different videos here, and this is what I encourage you to do. If you're struggling with the reading, go on YouTube and see if you can find an audio version of it. This is the play, which plays are kind of boring to read on page, and so I think it's easier to read it. I don't feel like there's a YouTube version that was very good. of the entire play, like people acting it out, but that's ideal if you can watch it. There might be now, you could go look. I don't think I've looked in a while. But then just audio versions, like this is just somebody reading A&P. And so what I would do is just look and see. Poems in particular will usually have some good like dramatic readings. And so you can just look it up on YouTube and see if there's somebody reading it to you, and it makes it so much easier to follow along and pay attention and not get distracted if you're just listening to it while you're looking at it on the page. Makes it a lot easier to concentrate. So that's what I recommend. I've got the 2 examples there, and if you want more, you are welcome to email me and I can start putting more in these modules. I can add more to the resources page if you need them. So the first assignment, you're going to do 2 assignments with these overview chapters. The first one is a response assignment, and this is your first writing assignment. It is not an essay though. I do want you to type it up in an essay style, so in paragraph form, not a bulleted list, but in this case it's a response and not an essay. So I'm not looking for a formal introduction with a thesis and and sources and all of that. All I'm doing is a personal response. So these are your opinions on the 3 main readings from the 3 main chapters, and that is, I've chosen for you to look at John Updike's A&P, Robert Browning's My Last Duchess, and Susan Glaspell's Trifles. And so there's 1 short story, 1 poem, and 1 play. And so what you're going to do then is looking over them. You're going to look at see what you can find that's similar or different in the characters, and where they're set, like the settings themselves, the plots. What do you see between the plots? What are the differences and similarities? I'm really just seeing how you make connections between them. And then connections to yourself as well, because you'll find that you have some personal connections to them. So this is your first response style assignment, and we'll have several throughout the semester, but it's really just a chance for you to make some personal connections with some works, and then also see what can you discuss when we're looking at multiple works. What sorts of things do you see between them that you can look at and discuss? So there's no real wrong answer to it. And so it's not like I'm looking for something specific that you're going to respond with. Everyone might have a little bit of a different idea, and that's perfectly fine. So you might notice, different. So the main characters in these 3 stories, there's a difference in gender, for example. So there are females that are being looked at from the male perspective in these 3 stories. And so that might be something that you notice, and then you start to see, oh, okay, I can see how those 3 work together and how they're different and how they're showing different aspects of the same theme and that kind of thing. So that's what I'm looking for, is just your opinion. And so it's not really a wrong answer kind of thing. Even if you think it's stupid, I want you to write it down, because that's the purpose of that assignment. I'm not grading you on grammar. I'm just grading you on whether or not you answer the questions. Then the last thing that you're going to do is this exam. This is your first exam for the semester. We'll have one for each of the genres later on, but this one is just kind of the overview section. There's a time limit on it. You can only take it 1 time. There's 20 questions worth 40 points, not 40 questions. And then, so it should not take you longer than an hour, but I would definitely make sure that you have done the readings first before you try the exam. Don't just sit there and try and, do the exam without having even looked at the chapters. So this is an assignment where you really, if you like, you could do the response assignment by just looking up these 3. They're online. You can find versions online. Not so easy to do with the exam. So if you don't have the textbook, you need to email me. Make sure that you don't start this until you're ready to take it. If I have to reset the exam, you'll get new questions. So just kind of keep that in mind. So those are the 2 assignments. First kind of response style writing assignment, and then first exam. And then after this point, we will be getting into just fiction. So we'll be reading short stories for a few weeks after this. So hopefully you're doing well. If you have any questions, send me an email. Otherwise, have a great day.